All right, guys, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about a crazy mega project idea that cost $100 billion, a futuristic forest city in Malaysia being funded by China that got absolutely destroyed by the pandemic. This is scheduled to be completed by 2035. There was a recent article that actually went into this city. It is an absolute ghost town. There's already been billions invested into it, but most of it is vacant, and you can kind of see the overall futuristic green type design to it. It really is interesting. Now, the overall info on this, it's a huge city built on 4 man-made islands in Malaysia, right across from the border of Singapore. The project is supposed to be finished by 2035 with more than 700,000 residents, but it remains almost empty and seems doomed for political reasons. Now, I did see there was a recent update on this project. They're still hopeful to have this completed by 2035. I mean, a lot of it already has been constructed. In an article that just came out a month ago, Forest City, not a failed project, says developer. And he talks about on what basis is this project said to have failed. This is a long-term project and we have a long way to go. It is unfair for anyone to brand this project as a failed project in 7 years. We basically are just laying the foundation of the development, and there are still many more activities and projects that are in the pipeline. There have been numerous reports claiming that the Megaproject has failed, including a big-time YouTube channel. Wow, they shouted me out. That's amazing. I'm kidding. But now, apparently, they referenced the YouTube channel in this article, and currently there are 6,000 residents in the developed area, including house owners and business tenants. Now, where this really gets interesting is when you see the actual recent article and the recent photos of basically a complete abandoned futuristic forest city. This article coming out about a year ago, Malaysia's $100 billion luxury estate was supposed to be a living paradise. Instead, 6 years into development, it's a ghost town full of empty skyscrapers and deserted roads. Take a look. And this is really a combination of a number of things, but the biggest one being when you look at this project and when the pandemic hit, literally worst case scenario, horrible timing, and there is just nobody living there right now. But you can just kind of see all the skyscrapers that are, I mean, at this point, virtually abandoned. And kind of the interesting, unique design of the greenness. This is what they want to do to future cities. Just put all these shrubs in the windows and stuff and try and bring the forest to city life. Makes for kind of an interesting crossover. This is an apartment residential area complex, and apparently the person that visited here said they saw 2 cars total when they went by this area. Every shop in the complex appeared to be closed, empty, or abandoned, and it's just pretty crazy photos. I mean, there has to be somebody maintaining this because there's so many of these plants. And, you know, with the rain that they normally get, you would figure if you know, they didn't cut them, it would just go crazy. I mean, if this place actually went abandoned, give it 2 weeks and it'll be a complete apocalypse. Just from the way the plants are growing and things like that. If you don't cut them, it is pretty remarkable. There are 2 resorts in Forest City. One of them has been closed for 2 years. The other one looks like someone visited and says there's dragonflies, the water looked discolored and half full in the pool. So that is the current status of one of the resorts. And these are just pretty remarkable photos of just a complete ghost town, supposedly the future of the megacities, just completely lying to waste. That's some apartments or skyscrapers at nightfall. You can count the amount of people that are in those with the lights. I mean, that is crazy. That is a doomsday scenario. And then you can just kind of see some of the overgrown shrubbery going down the side. So yeah, what a complete failed project so far. They just can't get anyone to move there. And this is from Wikipedia. It says the development of Forest City is contentious. The project was largely not targeted for local Malaysians, but rather for upper-class middle citizens from China who were looking to park their wealth abroad by offering relatively affordable seafront properties compared to expensive coastal cities within their country, such as Shanghai. However, initial strong sales from China collapsed after its leader implemented currency controls, including a $50,000 annual cap on how much buyers could spend outside of the countries. So the CCP is single-handedly killing this project, it looks like. Or at least that's what Wikipedia says. They implement... Dude, that is so... My God. I feel so bad for the Chinese citizens, man. You can't spend $50,000 outside your country. So no one from China... They originally built this city for Chinese citizens to move to as a way for, cheaper living, especially for the more expensive, upscale... type of places in Shanghai. They were getting priced out, but then the CCP comes out and says, we're putting a cap, $50,000 on how much you can spend abroad, and they can't afford anything at the Forest City. So this is remarkable, and it only got worse when the pandemic hit in 2020, and apparently Malaysia dealt with a political crisis right when the pandemic hit. The project is described as a ghost town in 2023. The project, which is located on reclaimed land, has been criticized for causing large amounts of habitat destruction in the vicinity. And apparently they were trying to build artificial forests in and around Forest City. And then an update on the progress. It says, despite 2021 controversies due to negative allegations and effects of the pandemic, the project has kept delivering according to the original plan. But it's just such an interesting design, Forest City, and looking at the renderings of it. Is this something that could actually work if it's to be, finished in 2035, I just imagine if this thing actually went abandoned. I mean, it would be an apocalypse in a week just because of the way everything is set up and how overgrown it would get so quickly. But the current status of it is, I guess it's coming along. They're only 7 years into the project. We'll have to see what happens to it. But when you factor in the pandemic, when you factor in, their main potential population source not being allowed or not being able to buy, if they've got that $50,000 cap spending abroad in China, that's a major issue, and we'll have to see what ends up happening with it. But I just thought this was something interesting. I saw an article on it, and I saw some interesting renderings. You can see the waterfront apartments, a transportation hub. They've also got one of those high-speed rail systems that are that's the future of public transportation, supposedly, as well as a man-made beach, luxury hotel, things like that. So this is a $100 billion project that is pretty much vacant right now, waiting for people to populate it. There was an optimistic article recently about Forest City possibly regaining some of its tourism attractions with the pandemic, restrictions in Malaysia being eased. And apparently their most popular attraction right now at Forest City is the little water park. They attract around 3,000 visitors per month on average through October of last year. During the school holiday in September, the water park attracted 6,000 visitors. So, folks, if there's one thing you should take away from this, the local water park has saved a $100 billion project. I'm just kidding, guys. But either way, we'll have to see what ends up happening. They certainly do have time before, it's going to be completed in 2035. But it is kind of a unique situation with the pandemic and all the issues with China, to where it's kind of basically been abandoned the past year, 2 years after they dumped billions of dollars into it, and you're just kind of looking at overgrown apartments. I will say, the whole thing the problem with putting all these shrubs up and things like that in a city, it just makes it look abandoned to me. Even when you're looking at renderings, it just looks abandoned. It's like, why is there shrubs growing out of a window? Why is there shrubs growing out of the concrete? But I understand they're trying to bring the forest into the city. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.